In this lesson, we're going to take a look at creating organizational units within the Active Directory. To begin with, I'm going to go ahead and open up Active Directory, Users, and Computers. And now that I'm here, you're going to see these are some of the pre-built or just default organizational units that are out there. One for users, one for computers, one for domain controllers, and so forth. What I like to do is I like to organize my computers or my users by certain groups, or by basically categorizing them by certain areas. And we've created groups already, and in the last video I have created the sales group. However, what I can also do, if you've got many or multiple employees and this list gets larger and larger and larger, is you can separate them into individual organizational units. And they kind of look like folders over here. They're slightly different in the fact that you can actually deploy responsibility to other users and have them manage these groups rather than yourself, which makes it kind of nice when you have a large domain to manage. So let's go ahead and begin by creating an organizational unit. I'm going to right click on my actual domain. Here it is. My domain name is pending.local. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to choose new, and you'll find organizational unit. And you can give this any name you want. I'm going to go ahead and call this organizational unit sales. And you're going to notice this protect container from accidental deletion. That ends up being a problem if you want to delete it, and I'll have a future video here that'll show you how to delete them once they have been created with this. But if you plan on just creating it and then deleting it, you're going to want to uncheck that. But I will show you in a lesson and a few more lessons how to actually delete these in case you make a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And you're going to see the folder has now been created, this organizational unit. It says there's a little folder here called sales. Notice the difference in the icon. The little symbol that you see here, the organizational units that have this symbol, actually we can apply what's called group policy settings to it, or special settings, different settings than the rest of the organizational units that are out here. So I can actually put, for the people or for the computers that are part of the sales organizational unit, I can actually change settings on those computers to make it specifically for just those groups. And so we can create as many organizational units as we want to. If I want to create another one, I can go ahead and right click on the domain again, go to new organizational unit, and this time let's go ahead and do accounting, and I'll create one more. Let's see, new organizational unit, and we'll call this one manufacturing. Alright, so you can create as many as you want. Now you can actually create organizational units within the organizational unit, similar to you do with folders. So you can create your own hierarchical system here. For instance, if maybe in the sales, I may want to, if I right click on the sales and go to new organizational unit, this will create one within the sales organizational unit. So I may have sales in the Baltimore office, and you can see that creates it in there. I may also have sales in the Kalamazoo office, or possibly in the Atlanta office. So you can go ahead and break them down even further. Now I would recommend, and just the recommendation is not to go more than 3 deep. And so basically having more organizational units, because that eventually becomes too cumbersome to manage all of those organizational units that are out there, considering each one of these can have their own set of properties as far as group policy is concerned, or permissions with group policy. So you're going to want to be careful of that. I can go ahead and now look at moving some people into certain ones. For instance, if I click on users, I created a sales group. Now more than likely it's probably not the best place to have the sales group inside the users, and so what we'll do, considering we have a sales organizational unit, so what I'll do is just drag it and drop it in the sales. I get a little warning that says, you know what, basically when you move it like this, some of the group policies that were in effect here may not necessarily be in effect on this particular organizational unit, because each organizational unit can have their own. And I'll go ahead and hit yes, I do want to move it, I understand that. The users 1, 2, and 3, they all may be different parts. Let's go ahead and say user 1 is a salesperson. We'll go ahead and move them there. User 2 is an accounting person, and user 3 is a manufacturing person. So now we've got most of our users, rather than relying on the users organizational unit, we've got them now in our own individual ones. And the big benefit to that is I cannot apply specific group policy settings to the user's organizational unit. However, I can on these, the sales, accounting, manufacturing. So if I want to now, I can later on in a video I'll talk about group policy. I can actually apply specific group policy settings to this organizational unit. And I can organize them by certain things. Let's say that in Baltimore we've got a new user. And let's go ahead and say user. Let's just actually start giving them names rather than users so we don't get confused. And I'm just going to go ahead and create some users, and to make it interesting I'm going to go ahead and use Presidents of the United States. George Washington. And the username, we're just going to go ahead and do G, and I'm just going to put dot Washington. And you can go ahead and use any kind of naming scheme you want for usernames. Doesn't really matter on these videos. However, if you're going to have a large organization, you're going to want to be careful because you may have the same person with the same initials, if you're going to use initials, or even the same name. So you're going to want to come up with your own naming scheme. I'm going to go ahead and use this and hit next, and give myself a password, and finish. And you can see now that George Washington belongs to the Baltimore office. And so I can go ahead and create other users for different departments if I wanted to, and apply settings to them, which I'll talk about in a future video. And this concludes the video on creating organizational units within Active Directory.